or four-belt era, and you became the second undisputed champion in 3 weight classes when there was only one champion back in 1938 with Henry Armstrong. That's a lot of stuff.
You hear that? You hear that?
Which do you think means
all
the
of
most?
It.
And
all of it.
Saturday.
I'm glad that he think he's confident. I like it. I like the confidence, but he's talking too much. You know, he gonna get exactly what
Tie-ins Bud Crawford and Jaron Boots Ennis finally came face-to-face publicly for the very first time, and the tension immediately took over the room. What began as a simple interview unexpectedly turned into a fiery exchange that sent shockwaves through the boxing community. 2 elite champions from different generations stood directly across from one another, and this time Crawford was clearly not in a relaxed mood. He responded sharply after Boots suggested that he represented the old era and was unwilling to hand over the spotlight to the next king of the sport. Every second of the confrontation was captured on camera, and fans across social media reacted instantly. As soon as the interview ended, boxing fans flooded Twitter, podcasts, and discussion forums with non-stop reactions. One major question quickly started dominating the conversation. Could this be the next blockbuster fight in boxing? After what people witnessed, it was obvious the respect between them had turned into something far more serious, that a massive clash now appears to be forming between one of boxing's most accomplished champions and the dangerous young fighter trying to take over the throne. So let us take a closer look at exactly how this confrontation unfolded and why many believe it may have sparked the sport's next huge super fight. Before anything else, it is important to understand that this was never an ordinary interview from the beginning. Crawford had recently delivered a dominant performance against Canelo Alvarez and was discussing his legacy, his place among the greatest fighters ever, and what the future could hold for the remainder of his career.
And I'm gonna get a lot of too, but honestly, there could be the way where you put Crawford over Mayweather. Because of going up, you didn't see Mayweather go up from 147 to 168. That's crazy, bro. And honestly, I thought Crawford was gonna have more of a hard time because he had a hard time with Madronov. So imagine going up to it. I mean, that's crazy. But I don't want to take nothing away from Mayweather. Mayweather's the greatest of all time. But I think that was a really big risk that Crawford took, and then he ended up winning. You know what I mean? So you have to give credit to that too. I mean, that's a big risk. That'd be like me going up and fighting Usyk right now, heavyweight.
I know that's been kind of hinted.
I'm not thinking of that right now. I'm not thinking of that right now. No, but that's kind of like how that'd be. You know what I mean? So you have to, bro. That's a lot of. He has a lot of balls to do that. And not only to go do that to show the world that he's really like that.
Sitting directly across from him was Jaron Boots Ennis, the young unbeaten contender filled with confidence and ambition. He was not there to act like an upcoming prospect waiting for his opportunity. In his mind, the sport has already entered his era, and he believes the spotlight now belongs to him.
You got Boots Ennis in your weight class.
Definitely.
What do you think about him?
Oh, he's very, very talented. He's unproven, but he's very talented.
Yeah.
The eye test tells it all. You know, he's got the it, but we haven't seen him against any elite fighter. We've never seen him tested. So until then, we just going to keep saying, oh, Boots, 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 until he meet that fighter that's going to test him.
Is that a fight that you would be interested in?
Nah, it just don't make sense right now in my career. Like I said, especially money-wise. Don't nobody really know Boots, but
right.
I'm looking for bigger and better challenges like Canelo.
You're just looking for the big ones.
Yeah.
The big fish.
Yeah.
Fish fry.
Definitely. Them the guys I'm looking for,
Boots Ennis has been calling out Crawford for a long time, not because of personal issues or disrespect, but because of his drive to challenge the very best. When 2 fighters at that level share the same stage with cameras everywhere, tension is almost unavoidable. At first, Crawford remained composed since he has dealt with situations like this many times throughout his career. Still, it became clear very quickly that Boots was not there simply to exchange compliments, that he looked directly at Crawford and made his point clear. He acknowledged Crawford's victory over Canelo and gave him credit for it, but then reminded everyone that he is a completely different challenge and is aiming to take over the top spot in boxing. Crawford's reaction said more than words ever could. There was no sign of intimidation in his face, only sharp focus and intensity, the serious expression that fans know so well immediately returned, and the atmosphere in the room shifted within seconds of they teed that moment. This no longer felt like a story about an older champion nearing the end against a younger fighter looking for attention. Crawford is still one of the most dangerous men in the sport and remains firmly positioned at the top of boxing.
World class Honda. What does he mean?
Yeah, he said world class fighter. I guess he's trying to say if you're a world class fighter.
Sign a contract. Exactly, sign a contract. If he wanted to fight, he would have stayed at 47. He obviously said he wanted to move up in college to be undisputed at 54 or something like that. So, yeah, he definitely did say that too. Yeah.
We ain't worrying about, right now we ain't worrying about Crawford. We gonna clean 147 now, then we gonna move to 154. If he there and he got a belt, we coming after him. Simple as that.
Following his dominant victory over Errol Spence Jr., his overpowering performance against Israel Madrimov, and then a stunning win over Canelo Alvarez after climbing 2 weight divisions, Bud Crawford has created a career record that few fighters in boxing history can even compare to. His accomplishments have continued to separate him from the rest of the sport. Crawford also made history by becoming the first boxer ever to earn undisputed championship status in 3 different weight divisions. With 42 professional fights, 0 losses, and 31 knockout victories, his record speaks for itself. That goes beyond simple success inside the ring. It is a type of achievement that cements a fighter's name in boxing history forever.
That's the fight that everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Do you respect him as like when he's like, I got a couple fights left, I'm at the end, I'm only trying to get mega fights, so
I understand it, but don't lie or capture the net and make it seem like I had the opportunity to fight you and I didn't. I never did. You know what I'm saying? And then that one time that I did, we said they called and we said we never heard nothing else back about it. So right. I mean, I respect it though. I mean, get your money. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing. But don't be capping on.
This is a moment where things begin reaching another level entirely. Jaron Ennis, widely known as Boots, is now being talked about as a future pound-for-pound ruler in boxing. At just 27 years of age, he remains undefeated with an incredible professional record of 34 victories, no defeats, and 30 of those wins coming by knockout.
Terence Crawford against Jaron Ennis, for me, is the best fight in American boxing. But it needs to be a payday for Crawford that would get him interested, because Crawford knows how good Boots is. And I'm not saying that Crawford thinks he's going to lose to Boots, but he knows that is a real fight. But for me, Boots is the new Crawford. We've just got to go out and get the fights to show how great he is.
Even Eddie Hearn has openly stated that Jaron Ennis is already on the verge of becoming boxing's top pound-for-pound talent. In his view, this is not a fighter who needs years to prove himself, but someone capable of taking that position within the next year. Boots fights with a trademark Philadelphia mentality: aggressive, explosive, quick, and completely unafraid of any challenge. He took control of the welterweight division at 147, continued making statements at 154, and many now believe his talent could carry him all the way to middleweight and possibly even higher. What makes a comparison so interesting is that Terence Crawford already followed a very similar path. It almost feels like watching 2 versions of the same fighter, except one has already built years of greatness while the other is attempting to rise and surpass that image.
Just feel that Jaron Ennis against Terence Crawford is the fight. And that could be at 54, it can be at 60. You know, obviously we've got Lima to take care of first, but that for me is one of the great crossover fights, because Boots is the changing of the guard guy. And Crawford's the guy that's been there and done it all and just proved, that he's still very much in his prime.
What gave this confrontation so much weight was a mutual respect between both fighters rather than trash talk or personal attacks. Jaron Ennis never tried to tear down Terence Crawford. Instead, he acknowledged Crawford's greatness while making it clear that true greatness still has to be challenged. Boots pointed out how closely their careers mirror each other. He basically explained that Crawford went through names like Spence, Madrimov, and Lima before climbing divisions to chase a fight with Canelo, and now he believes he is traveling that same road in pursuit of Crawford himself. And honestly, the comparison makes sense. Boots has followed a path extremely similar to the one Bud created. He took over the welterweight scene and is now pushing into the super welterweight division, with many expecting middleweight to eventually be next. If he continues collecting titles the way Crawford once did, then a showdown between the two could become impossible to avoid. Even Danny Garcia, one of Philadelphia's biggest boxing names, told DAZN that the matchup is perfect from a stylistic standpoint. Garcia emphasized that Boots is still driven by hunger, And that kind of ambition may represent the greatest threat to Crawford because it is coming from a younger fighter determined to claim everything the older champion has spent years building.
That's a good fight. That's definitely up there. It's definitely up there. Probably at middleweight or something. That's like a vacant belt. That's definitely up there. That's definitely a big fight. Probably Shakur and Tank too, maybe. That's like right I'm seeing. But yeah, that's that. You might not be lying. That might be the biggest fight.
When Terence Crawford heard those comments, there was a brief reaction in his expression that immediately caught attention. It was a familiar look of a fighter who has already faced moments like this before, the same cold, focused people remember from his encounters with Spence and later with Canelo. The second the camera shut off, debates across the boxing world exploded. A large group of fans started pushing Jaron Ennis as a future face of boxing, while others argue that he still has much more to accomplish before being considered worthy of sharing the spotlight with Crawford.
And, obviously we're here in Philadelphia, Boots Ennis, Eddie, a couple other people, called Boots the natural successor to Terence Crawford, and obviously I know your relationship with him. Do you feel that high on Boots as well, or?
Hell yeah, I think Boots is a hell of a fighter. I don't know about the natural sensation, whatever that is to Terence Crawford, I think Boots is his own fighter, Terence his own fighter, but I think they both hell of a fighters. I've been around Boots for years, and he's the truth.
And last one for me, I'll let you go. Obviously, everyone's talking about a potential fight, you and Teofimo. Is there any updates to that? I mean, is that something that you are looking towards?
Yeah, that's the fight I want. So, ain't no updates. I don't speak business until the deal is done, so nothing to talk about.
Eddie Hearn is putting all his confidence behind Boots. He is convinced that before 2026 comes to an end, Jaron Ennis will rise above Terence Crawford, Alexander Usyk, and now you're in no way to claim the top spot on the pound-for-pound list. Considering Ennis' explosive ability, quick hands, and finishing power, that kind of prediction feels far from unrealistic.
And I don't mean it disrespectfully when I say they just don't beat Jaron Ennis. In fact, that style is absolutely tailor-made for Boots. Just to make it clear on Virgil Ortiz, we sat in a room, me, Oscar De La Hoya, Eric Gomez, and the top DAZN execs in America. We talked about how a deal would work with those two fighters, and we agreed on a deal. We went away, we signed a new deal with Boots. Part of that deal within the contract was the deal that we agreed with Golden Boy and DAZN to fight Virgil Ortiz. Boots signed it. Now, we didn't hear anything back. We told them we're going to fight in October. They said they're going to fight in November, and we haven't heard anything back. On Tuesday, Eric Gomez called me and he said, look, I just wanted to let you know we're fighting Lubin. After that, we want to get the Boots fight made. I said, well, we're in. I don't, so I take their word for it, and I truly believe Oscar De La Hoya wants to make great fights. But that fight is done on our side, on all the terms that we agreed with Golden Boy. That fight for me, although it doesn't carry an official world championship, which is what we want at 54, is one of the best fights in boxing.
However, Terence Crawford and his camp are not buying into that idea. Brian McIntyre, better known as Bomac and the longtime trainer Bud, has publicly stated that Crawford has no intention of dropping to 154 for any opponent. According to their stance, anyone chasing that fight will need to move up in weight if they want to face him.
No, he don't bring nothing to the table. He got our leftovers. Why would Bud want to go backwards? I want to go backwards. Bud looking for bigger and better fights, so where he can etch his name in the concrete forever. I don't know, because I really don't look at none of the welterweight since we did clear the division out. I'm done.
Now the pressure shifts to Jaron Ennis. The big question is whether he can climb through 2 additional weight classes the way Terence Crawford managed to do during his rise. Can Boots build a legacy strong enough and generate the kind of momentum that eventually leaves Bud with no choice but to answer the challenge? Similar to how Crawford once pushed for a showdown with Canelo Alvarez.
As his trainer, do you feel like you should just sell off into the sunset after this monumental
Well,
win?
you know what? They made it look so easy. You know what I'm saying? Got 2-3 more in him. You know what I'm saying? Training camp will try harder. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think a move to 160 would make sense?
I mean, if you want to do it, you know, it'd be a challenge. If you want to challenge yourself, yeah, I don't mind.
People should remember that Canelo Alvarez originally brushed aside the possibility of facing Terence Crawford, believing the size difference was too much. Yet not long after, the conversation completely changed and the matchup suddenly became reality. That is why some believe Jaron Ennis could be following a similar path, only from the opposite direction. At this stage, Crawford remains on top of boxing with several major opportunities still available to him. Potential fights against Gennady Golovkin, Janibek Eliminuli, or even another clash with Canelo continue to be part of the discussion. More importantly, Bud is pursuing a place in boxing history by aiming to become a 6th Division world champion, an accomplishment previously reached by only Manny Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya.
Who they are cancels out each other as far as height. You know, they both switch hitters, lift, and everything. All of that cancels out each other. So they are literally the same people, pretty much. The only difference is Crawford done been in the big stage against big fighters so many times. And also, with age, he didn't beat up his body, so his age is actually good. He got the grown man strength. He not just grown man strength, but he built on top of that. Like, look at him at 135. He was a little scrawny dude. He wasn't a big dude. Now look at him. He ripped up everything. He's strong. So sure. I feel like he got everything, all the experience, all the knowledge. So I gotta go with Crawford.
No matter the interview or the question being asked by fans, the discussion always seems to return to one name, Jaron Ennis. And whenever Terence Crawford responds, his attitude stays consistent, a grin, a relaxed reaction, and the same message. He is not planning to move down and wait for anyone. IT does not come across as Crawford rejecting the matchup. Instead, he is making it clear that the terms are already set. If Boots wants a shot at the top fighter, then he will need to rise up and meet him at the same time. There's still a feeling that the matchup genuinely catches Bud's attention. Facing a younger fighter with the speed to challenge him, the talent to push him, and the power to potentially impact his legacy is exactly the type of test elite champions are often drawn toward behind the scenes.
You know, Terence is your man.
Yeah.
Bud your man.
Yeah.
You know the fight niggas want to see, bro.
What?
Boots. You know niggas want to see Boots, bro.
Bro, Terence different, bro. I just know that man is different. That's what I'm saying. I never been in the ring with Boots. Yeah. I'm not saying Boots ain't different or you know, not good at all. I think it would be a good fight, but I just think, you know, Terence, just like he said, man, he been battle tested before. Terence been through all the ups and downs in the ring. He's the Floyd Mayweather of this generation. Just the magnitude of this fight, maybe Terence is just not motivated enough.
A matchup like this would mean far more than simply one generation replacing another. It would feel like two different boxing eras crashing into each other. Terence Crawford brings a calculated approach built on precision, patience, and constant pressure. On the opposite side, Jaron Ennis fights with raw intensity, dangerous power, and a fearless style that can change a fight in an instant.
Nice, right? Nice. Over and under, right there. Over and under with that same hand, right there. Yeah, turn it. Turn your hip with it. Do it again. Go take that hip with it. That's it. Do it again. Come back with the hook. Nice.
The contrast in their styles is what makes a matchup so compelling. Terence Crawford likes to take his time, observe every detail, and slowly dismantle opponents once he figures them out. Jaron Ennis operates in a completely different way. He applies pressure immediately, pushing the action with aggression and non-stop offense from the opening moments. The IT becomes a battle between control and intensity, strategy against unpredictability, a calculated chess match facing pure chaos inside the ring.